Facebook back in 2008, and so sharing them on my personal page, and that got overwhelming because I'm trying to sell music, promote music through an independent record label I was working with at the time. So orders would come in. I'd have literally thousands of Facebook notifications, and orders were getting lost. I missed something. So I thought, I got to separate this thing. And so I set up an independent page, Huntsville Revisited. I had a photo album on my William Hampton Facebook page called Huntsville Revisited. So I was getting overwhelmed. So I set it up separately as a person. Huntsville, first name, Revisited, last name. So that reached 5,000 people real quick. But to introduce my family as well, I have my son William. He's the guy with the afro. Nice. Sort of like that in the 70s when my hair fell off.
Peace.
Peace, love, and soul.
I can see it right now.
His twin sister, my daughter, Tate Ashley Hampton, and my beautiful, lovely wife, Linda.
Yes.
So they joined me today. Now, the early days of the page, check this out. In 2008, I didn't have this cool iPhone and all of that. I had a very modest cell phone back then. I didn't have a laptop either. So 2008, technology has progressed. So I'd be at work and couldn't monitor the page. I'd get home and there'd be all kinds of fights going on. Well, you know, someone would post a picture of a rebel flag, and there are 1,000 comments and people fighting over that. And then someone would post pictures of their puppies, lost puppy. so I get home and delete the post, and someone would then inbox me and say, "Why did you delete my post on puppies?" And I said, "Well, there are other forums for that." And I just received threats. If you remove my puppy post again, there's going to be a fight. You know, I get those kind of things.
Oh gosh.
So hilarious when it comes to the inbox. So I would call home, and the twins at the time, who were about 8 years old, they literally actually monitored the page. They were my co-assistants. So I would call, and they'd say, "Well, there are 30 requests to join the page," and they would read the profiles to me. And I would tell them whether they accepted or not, or if there was some profanity on the page. They would delete it for me. So eventually I got a laptop, and I was able to keep the page with me and monitor that kind of thing. So just some funny things throughout the years. But overall, it has been a delight. It is my passion. I live and breathe Huntsville history. It was poured into me by my great-grandparents.
Wow.
Then followed by my grandparents and my mom, who recently died. But some of the things we've got going on now with this Huntsville history, and since we have an elected official here, that just reminded me. That reminded me what another funny thing that happened on the page. Because it's Huntsville history, I have some who feel that everything needs to be told. So I'd have someone who would post, and it would usually be an elected official, so-and-so's kids do drugs, or so-and-so's kids were in jail. This is stuff in the past, not current. Well, I knew so-and-so, and their husband ran around, or the wife ran around, and I would delete it. And I'd get the inbox message, "Oh, so you're not interested in truth and in real Huntsville history?" I said, "I am, but this is not a gossip column."
Right, good for you.
And one of the individuals who did that, I come from a family of domestics, house cleaners and yard workers and all of that. So one of the individuals who had posted some stuff, here's the thing about it, I knew some stuff on his family. So,
wow.
From back in the 60s. So
because
we don't want to get into that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So we share Huntsville history. There's a common bond. Collectively through the pages, we have over 30,000 members of Huntsville loving, sharing the good news about our city. We have some warts, we have some scars. There's some things we need to grow through. There's some things we need to learn from the past. We've done some good things, and done some bad things that we can learn from those. So I feel that the page is a vehicle to help us through that, because we can post pictures of past events, people, places, and events. We can post pictures of these, and those of us who are civil, we have civil conversations about the past.
They can learn.
And about the present. Yes, and we learn from each other because things have happened. We can't change that. So how do we grow from these things? Whether it's political, racial, religious, those kinds of things. So I'm excited that our page has been a vehicle where individuals can come together, take a stroll down memory lane. There are some things that we just haven't come to a common to agreement on, and that's whether or not Huntsville had a Snow White. A Snow White. Forgive me, not Snow White.
I'm not
White
from around
Castle.
here.
White Castle.
Oh, okay.
We had a Snow White.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't think the White Castle came further south than Nashville or somewhere in Tennessee. So people will argue, yes, we did have a White Castle.
I don't even know
Actually, we did.
what you're
But
talking
it wasn't
about.
a restaurant. We had one of those little hole in the wall.
Tucked into a spot.
Well, it was at the intersection of Meridian Street and Winchester, where Wilson Lumber is located today.
Okay.
It was a White Castle, and it was one of those little hole in the wall, shoot 'em up
Yeah.
places.
Juke joint.
And we had a preacher in town, one of those fire and brimstone dudes,
Yeah.
J. Otis King, and he dressed like Colonel Sanders. Look him up. You can Google him. There are pictures of him on Facebook. He, wore the little tie and the white suit. Well, one night he went out to the club and he stood on the roof and preached one of those fire and brimstone messages. So that was our White Castle. No, we had that argument, but we didn't have the restaurant. And there are other, disagreements about little stuff. But for the most part, someone will come with a picture and confirm whether or not something did exist in Huntsville. Are any of you familiar with the Jesse James robbery here in Huntsville? I see a no. All right, so did you, as an elementary school kid, did you ever play that game where kids line up and you whisper something in someone's ear, and by the time it gets around, it's all twisted?
Gossip.
Well, that's what happened with our Jesse James Bank robbery. First National Bank that sits there on the West Side Square, big beautiful columns across from the courthouse, was never robbed in its entire history.
Oh, but there's a plaque that says it did.
There was a plaque that said it did, and I know it was there. I saw it when I was a kid.
Is the plaque down?
The plaque was never there. No, I'm speaking as what people post on the page. I know there was a plaque there. The plaque that's there is the one that told the history of the bank, but not a Jesse James robbed this bank.
Oh, but we had it in our brain. Isn't that
Because
interesting?
Grandma said it happened.
Yeah.
Well, and supposedly Jesse James escaped out of that door that used to be above.
Jesse James escaped out of that door.
Or
Jumped off it.
Jesse's brother is what I always heard.
Well, Jesse robbed the bank.
Did he or didn't he?
No, he didn't.
Well, let me tell my story.
Oh, okay.
Jesse robbed the bank. Jesse robbed the bank and came out of that door, dove in the water, and swam through the cave system and came out at Pulaski Pike.
I never heard that part about his swimming.
Well, the other one is he was higher on the bluff.
Oh,
And he was on his horse, and he and the horse dove off the cliff.
In the
bluff.
three
Yes.
feet of water.
And I tell folks, if that had happened, there would be a marker there saying, "Here lies Jesse James' horse." I stood on that bluff and looked, 3 feet of water. But it's one of those stories where there are about 20 or 30 variations of it. Jumped off the cliff, dove into the water, jumped off the cliff, into the water, swam, got on his horse, got away. The truth of the matter is this: Jesse had a brother named Frank James, and he robbed an Army paymaster out at the Tennessee River, Muscle Shoals. Jesse and his brother and some of the gang members served the Confederate Army as guerrilla soldiers.
sure.
So, they, after the war, became bank robbers and robbed whatever else they could. Well, they robbed a United States Army paymaster out at the Tennessee River and got away with it. Got away with it. So some time goes by, I can't remember the year or so. They're in Nashville. They have moved to Nashville now. You know, they're from Missouri, have moved to Nashville. So one of the gang members is in a bar. Imagine this place like this.
Yeah.
And our dear sister over there who's pouring drinks and all, the gang members there boasting about this robbery that took place out at the Tennessee River. Now I like to use my sanctified imagination.
Yes. Yes.
And picture it this way. He's at the bar. This is fact now. He is at the bar drinking. And the bartender, he's sharing the story with the bartender. So I imagine it goes like this. He's boasting about the amount of money stolen,
Sure.
where it happened, how it happened, all the details of this robbery. And I imagine the bartender saying, really? Tell me more.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
You're lying.
Gets
I
better.
wanted one to drink. Man, no, it happened like this. Well, the bartender there in Nashville happened to be the town sheriff.
Oh, okay.
And they were arrested,
Confession.
brought to Huntsville, because at the time Huntsville had the regional federal courthouse, which sat right there on the corner of Green and Eustis, across from Green Street Market. There's on the other side of the Y. Well, it's not the Y now; it's law offices, right? So that parking lot used to be the Calhoun House. That's where he was tried. Frank James, not Jesse. So long story short on that, that's how that story got twisted.
Wow.
The bank was never robbed. It was an Army paymaster. And Frank was brought back to Huntsville and tried. And he came as a celebrity. Because remember, he fought for the Confederacy. So they hung out with jurors and all that kind of thing. And Frank's gun was used as a bail. And it was in the safe at the First National Bank up into the 80s. And then Huntsville gave it to the state of Missouri to be
The
used
gun
in.
was?
Ma'am?
The gun?
Gave the gun,
Oh, wow.
Gave
That's
it
why
to them for their
connection
museum.
of the bank.
That's the
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
And his exaggerated story must have been at the bank.
Yeah. So
Wow.
what has evolved as a Facebook page sharing pictures has now evolved into me being able to go around and talk to civic groups, schools, universities, sharing Huntsville history, and getting young people and others excited about
Good.
capturing family history, because we have the history of our city, history of our churches. We talked earlier about our churches, but getting them excited about talking to older family members, because on the page, almost any time someone posts a question about this, that, or the other, someone will reply, "Oh, just go to the library." And they have a lot of great information up there, great resources and whatnot. But I guarantee you, in some of our homes, is a greater resource.
Wow.
And that's grandma
Yeah.
and granddaddy.
Oh my gosh.
And you can go, interview them, and then do
Very.
fact checking.
Yes.
Hey, William, you know our friend Bobby Bradley.
Bobby who?
Bradley.
Yes.
You know, Bobby is involved in that Rocket City Civil Rights Project.
Yes.
She gave a talk here not too long ago, and
Okay.
she said that every time one of these older ladies passes away, a library closes.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my
Yes,
goodness.
sir. And that's
Oh.
literal. That is literal.
That's
These
right.
individuals, they hold the piece to. We're trying to complete this big puzzle, and many of these older folks who are dying off hold that missing piece to the puzzle that we're trying to complete. So I challenge them to pick the brains of their elders, and even those of us, your fellow family members and sisters and uncles and whatnot. They know some stuff
And recorded.
and record it. See, they have devices now to tell my kids
So easy.
that we didn't have. One of the things I do, Allison, the photographer friend here, I still have some of my old Instamatic cameras, and so when I go to schools, I make sure it's okay. And from photography studios and camera shops all over the country, and if any of you have flash cubes,
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yes.
I collect those.
Oh, good.
And so when I go into schools, I have my Instamatic cameras, and the kids get a kick out of that. And I let the teachers know, or if parents are there, say, now they're gonna see that blue dot when the flash goes off. But they get a kick out of being able to press that button and that flash cube goes off. And I explained to them, when we were kids, we had to we'd take a picture, After we shoot the roll up, then take it to the drugstore or camera shop or whatever. You wait a week. Remember, it used to be a week or 7 to 10 business days. Then they narrowed it down to like 5 days.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
when it became 1
Drop
hour,
boxes.
shoot.
Oh,
man.
yes.
And now you
Now I
can take
get
a
what-
picture and see that it's bad and delete it and take another one. But back then we get the roll and you've taken a picture of a dinosaur, you saw a president, you saw Elvis Presley, and you get the picture back and your thumb is in each one. Man, I promise you this is Elvis.
Yes.
I promise you that was a dinosaur.
I was there. Right,
I
right.
promise you that was the president of the United States. So nowadays they have these devices you can record and take pictures. So just encouraging them and challenging them to do that kind of thing. As it has evolved, I've collected the collections of a number of people who've died. Some people had no one to leave their items to, and they didn't want to see them placed in the trash. They didn't want them placed in an area where they would not be cherished and honored. So I have these items, and so lo and behold, I've been blessed with a space by Mr. Jim Batson, who owns H.C. Blake. And there's a whole new complex now over at 2007 North Memorial Parkway called the H.C. Blake Complex. And we're having a grand opening for that complex December 11th.
It'll always be the A&P, really.
It's A&P. That's what it is. It's A&P. That's one of those things. Ride Out Road will always be Ride Out Road.
Yeah.
It's always Ride Out Road. A lot of things we will never call them anything other than what they are.
It's always gonna be Parkway City.
Always Parkway City, not Parkway Place. None of that. None of that.
Oh, that's great.
Any others that will always be such and such? What's the other? There was another road that just got a name change, but we always call it, for me, Calvary Hill School. It was never AAA.
Sure.
Yeah.
Calvary Hill.
I still say the Am South building on.
Am South.
Yeah.
I didn't know it wasn't Am South. I was giving someone directions
Yeah.
downtown one day, and I said, "Go by the Am South building." I said, "I don't see it. It's at the intersection of Clinton and Franklin there." They said, "I'm by the Regents." They said, "I'm by the Regents." I said, "No." I said, "Regents is over on Williams." We were all twisted and everything.
That's progress. It hasn't been reading in a while.
Oh, wow.
So,
Well, the Y will always be the Y.
Oh, yeah.
The Y.
Yes.
Yeah.
That old building, yeah, the building.
The Showers Center. That's the Northwest Y. That's the Northwest Y. That's like,
I love it when someone posts a picture on the page and then somebody else comes up and says, "That's my mother."
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or "That's my grandfather." And then this whole conversation starts
Yes.
about that individual, and it's just, it's precious.
right, and I encourage that because many times I'm somewhere and someone will see a picture, and in my own family, people are going through photos when an older family member has died. Oh, throw that box in the trash. We don't know who those people are. No, someone knows.
Put it on Facebook.
Especially if it's Huntsville.
Yeah.
And there's several pages now, lost relatives, unknown people, and someone notices someone, mama, granddaddy, an uncle, a brother. Folks have even noticed themselves in a particular picture. So just fascinating work that our members have done. Someone will send a picture that they found in an attic. Had a situation where this guy had bought a house over here in Twickenham or 5 Points or something. Had just moved to Huntsville, 20-something-year-old guy, and he contacted a friend of his and was telling him about it. Said, "I found this box of stuff, man. It's just trash. I'm going to toss it." So his friend told him, "No, I know a guy who has a friend who runs this page and they post pictures." So my buddy calls me. My nickname is Peanut. He says, "Hey, Peanut, there's a guy out in Madison who has a friend who has a box of pictures he wants you to go through." So I go through and I get these pictures, and I'm looking through there. This guy from somewhere else buys this house. This box of photos and documents are in this attic, and it's the pictures are of dancers. These people dance back in the 20s and 30s, and this
all
is
dressed
Huntsville
up?
stuff. Yeah, just a bunch of stuff. Huntsville memorabilia that would have ended up in the trash. So, encourage people, don't throw it away. Go take it to the library, take it to one of the local universities, UAH archives. They're really doing some great things over there. And then, of course, myself, because now this new development that I just told you about, we're going to have an area, 900 square feet of museum space
Oh.
for starters. You know, that's just for starters. My dream is to have a museum of public history here in Huntsville. Public history that you can come and it's just a collection of all of our stories. We moved so many times when I was a child that I literally know Huntsville in all corners, north, south, east, and west. So when people would tell me, oh, go to the library, you can find your family history there. I had the oral history, but my family were not prominent individuals, and some of yours might not be either. So there's not going to be a file there telling your family's history and connection. So as I dug deeper into my family's history, and then finding the connection to some of Huntsville's prominent families, it just drove me to dig deeper with this, with genealogy. I receive all kind of requests with the page from all over the globe, which has led me to become a volunteer photographer for Find a Grave. I get an email message from Australia. Someone with family here in Huntsville, they're digging into their family history, and they send me a request to go out to a cemetery to take a picture of the headstone, you know, to send back, and they can post it on their family's Find the Grave profile or their family tree, you know, on
That's how I found my grandfather.
through family tree and
Through
ancestry.
Find a Grave.
Find a Grave. Yeah, so it's a useful tool. Just an exciting thing. And then through Find a Grave, and now DNA and all of this, I had a really cool thing because Matt, Don Christensen, and John Kavak and I have discussed things like with slavery and our connections to it. I did a DNA test last year, and a really cool thing came about. So I'm a native son, and one branch of my family goes back to 1821 here in Huntsville, Madison County. Well, did the DNA match? Some people that I know that I'm related to who did the match, of course, they show up in my profile. Well, this one lady, it lists her age range from 60 to 69. She showed up as my fourth cousin. And so when I would log on, she would always be one of the first people in the thumbnail matches. So looking at this lady, I thought, how is this 60 to 69-year-old white lady who lives in Boston, Massachusetts, my fourth cousin?